Upon first seeing Octopath Traveler back in September of 2017, I was immediately grasped by the majestic graphics, illustrious soundtrack, and intriguing characters. Yeah, your boy's been reading his thesaurus, and thesaurus is something you're definitely gonna need when you're playing this game.
Letting us hunting, letting us beginning, letting my arrow fly in true.
But memes aside, Octopath has quickly become my absolute favourite game on Switch, and I hate JRPGs. So why do I love Octopath? To start, the game revolves around 8 travellers, all with their own unique classes, abilities, and stories spanning over 4 chapters. There's Ophelia the Cleric, Cyrus the Scholar, Tressa the Merchant, Orbrick the Warrior, Primrose the Thought, Alphen the Apothecary, and Therion the useless, totally not overused generic edgelord, oh and, of course, Hannet the Hunter. Upon starting the game, you are presented with a map and the location of each character, where you can choose who to start as, and from there you can pretty much do whatever you like. You can travel the realm and recruit the others, or if you're fucking mad lad like some people on Reddit, you can complete characters' entire story solo. I don't know what drives these absolute units to do such things. Now granted, some of these characters are pretty generic for JRPG, such as, Cleric, Warrior, and Thief, but classes like the Merchant are actually really unique and surprisingly effective. And just when you think you have the perfect party setup, the game throws the job system at you, which allows you to assign a secondary class to a character, so they can use the skills of that class, which is just so cool. You can have your Cleric be a dancer, you can have your Thief be a Merchant, which doesn't really make any sense. You can have your Merchant be a Hunter, which is freaking adorable. The game just has so much depth, and I find myself just prying at stats and trying out different setups for ours, and almost any job combination works great, which allows for so much variety. Another thing is the battle system. My god, the battle system. Even the random encounters are satisfying, because it's like a mini puzzle every time you encounter a new enemy. Each enemy has unique weaknesses that you can attack with to break their guard, rendering them vulnerable so you can slash, cast, and seduce old men into fighting for you and take them out. Not to mention that the character's path actions actually affect the battles. Ophelia and Primrose can summon people they've guided or lured to attack, cast buffs and debuffs. Hannet is a damn Pokemon trainer who can summon animals that you've captured earlier to attack for you, and Therion and Tressa can steal items and collect money from enemies. Now the graphics, they are phenomenal. I'd like to think this is what Microsoft was aiming for with 4K Minecraft. The graphics is just this amazing combination of old school Final Fantasy and modern special effects, which makes it equal parts unique and breathtaking. I can't even count the amount of times I just stopped to stare at the environments. Flame's Grace has the shimmering snow and that gentle blue glow, Ripple-Tide has the gorgeous flowing water, and Swarky Sviper has the breeze blowing through the trees. And what better thing to accompany the visuals than a soundtrack rather than that of Dark Souls and Nier Automata, with so much variety and being able to convey so much emotion. The soundtrack of Octopath has some of the best musical scores I've heard in a while. Every character has their own theme, every area has a fitting ambient track as you travel through them, and the music for the towns can go from upbeat and peppy to ominous and creepy. One minute you're roaming around a peaceful village by the coast, the next you've entered a plague-ridden town full of people in a religious cult looking for sacrifices.
The Phantom, exterior like fish eggs, interior like suicide wrist rags. I could exercise you, this could be your phys ed. Cheat on your man, homie. Ah, I tried to sneak through the door, man. Can't make it, the shit's stuck. Out of my way, son! Door stuck! Door stuck! Please! I beg you! We're dead!
And the contrast, both visually and audibly, is great. Some of the soundtrack is reused a bit too much and can be a little lazy at times, but I'm yet to find a track that I've disliked. Heck, while writing the script in fucking Notepad, I had the soundtrack open in the background. And even the tracks that you'll be hearing most of the time, like the battle music, are jamming and never get old. In regards to the story, it can be a little hit or miss. Some characters are definitely better than others in terms of story, and some chapters can really drag on and kind of be obnoxious. But thankfully, even the mediocre stories really ramp up around chapter 3 and 4. A lot of people complain that there's little to no character interaction, and this has been a pretty big problem for most people I've heard talking about Octopath. There is some character interactions in the form of travel banter, which is just a button prompt usually when entering a tavern or after a story event where 2 to 4 characters will discuss a topic or reflect on what just happened, and some of it is pretty cute and expands on the characters. And it does kind of suck that their sprites never interact, or they never interact in battle or say anything to each other in the overworld, but I guess that's something Square Enix can address in Octopath Traveler 2? I found that a lot of the NPCs in each character's stories are actually in some cases more interesting than some of the main characters. People like Leon, Earhart, and especially Ogun were actually really compelling and almost stole the show in some cases. Surprisingly, some of the game's stories are actually pretty dark, with Primrose basically being a prostitute that threw away any sense of dignity just to have a chance at avenging her father's deaths, an Alphen who ends up having an existential crisis, wondering if he as an apothecary should save people regardless of who they are. It's definitely not on the levels of games like Silent Hill, but for a cutesy pixel game on a Nintendo console, I was at times surprised. I know this will come off as pretty cheesy and very self-insertish, but some of the character struggles are actually really relatable to me and definitely hit home at some points in my life.
Guess what, Ma? I'm going on a journey. Time to see just how far my talents will go. I'm gonna save folks the world over, just like the man who saved me.
But honestly, in the end, Octopath Traveler, it's not the best game ever. It's not a massive phenomenon like Fortnite, but to me, it really is a special game. A lot of the characters and their struggles really hit home with me, and I'd be lying if I said the game didn't squeeze some tears out of me. Although it has a fantasy setting, I find the stories more believable than most these days. It was able to remind me that in a world dominated by fast-paced, competitive multiplayer games and hype beasts farming the minds of kids for free money, that video games can be so much more. Video games can be an escape, they can be an adventure, and they can tell a story like no other medium. When I played Octopath Traveler, I didn't just beat the game, I experienced it. It was a journey that took me through a vast realm on a magical adventure, living out the story of 8 ordinary people on their own paths, seeing how their journeys would change their lives and how they would grow as characters. In the end, Octopath Traveler has reminded me that at the end of the day, video games are made as a way for a developer to express emotion, tell stories, be fun, and allow the player to go on an adventure. And I'll always remember my adventures in Octopath Traveler.
Now there's a plan. I'll put it to good use, Alf.
Alrighty then. See you around.
Be safe out there, friend.